Never shall innocent blood be shed, yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution, the depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Queen of Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How are you guys doing this evening?
Awesome.
Nice.
Still breathing.
Always a good thing.
I mean, you're close to Minneapolis, aren't you? Maybe.
Like 230 miles.
You did catch? Did you catch that?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, you said you're still breathing. I didn't know you couldn't breathe.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the North Dakota side of the border. It's much easier to breathe in North Dakota than Minnesota.
I'll believe that.
The air just is a little bit more free over here.
Oh no, Steve, are you foreshadowing where we're going tonight?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you got those Cascade Mountains out there, Plutarch. Isn't the air easier to breathe on the eastern side of the Cascades than the western side?
You know, now that you mention it, there's definitely something to that. So, what are we talking about tonight, gentlemen? This is. I think I originally threw the idea out there, but Nick kind of just took it and ran with it, and as in typical Nick fashion, got into Twitter fights over it.
Hey, just wife them up. Everything will work out, and the country will change. Some of you might get screwed over. Some of you might not. You don't matter. You just
Nick,
need to wife up those women.
Nick, are you putting the conclusion before we get to the actual topic here? Is that what you're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what a preacher does. So
If it doesn't, okay, you know what? If it doesn't work for you and you just get ground up and spit out, you can become fertilizer and help the system grow and flowers to bloom and all that. Yeah, it's all good.
So, Steve, us men, we're just Soylent Green for the system, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So the topic tonight is magic dirt. And magic dirt itself is more of a concept. And I'm going to open by explaining how I first came across this concept. And this is not my idea per se. This is Devin Erickson talking about this. And he was talking about this in terms of immigration, specifically okay, I'll just say it. Somalian immigration. Okay, yeah, we're past 8 minutes. There we go. So the concept of magic dirt is this idea, and I wasn't able to get a good grasp on whether it's a philosophical idea or more of a logical fallacy, and the answer is maybe somewhere in between the two. But anyway, it's this idea that if you import a person from a third world country, usually a poor third world country, Somalia just happens to be a country that's in the news a lot lately, then that person, when they come to the United States and they touch our earth, our dirt, and they breathe our air, that they will gain the qualities of an American. Okay. The Somalian will become an American. They will hold American values. They will think how Americans think. They will act how Americans act.
And soon the Somalian Lutherans will be holding lutefisk suppers in their church basements.
Oh, okay. Guys, if you don't know what he's talking about, Don't go find out. It ain't worth it.
Another thing. It's really common. A Lutheran church with all the Norwegian Lutherans do hold lutefisk suppers in their church basements, like once a year. It's a thing here, and everybody makes fun of it, and it is funny, but it's true.
Yeah. so that is the concept of magic dirt. It is, you say, oh well, but that's a leftist concept, right? That's this idea that you can just import infinity immigrants from anywhere in the world, and they will magically become Americans, just by there is something so star-spangled awesome about our dirt and our air that makes it so that anybody who moves here from any country for any reason will become a good, God-fearing, productive member of society. How has that worked out for us, guys?
Not so well. And where did the idea ever come from?
Steve, it's one of your favorite groups.
Well, wait a minute. Okay. I lived a number of years in Minneapolis. Minneapolis.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah, okay, let's go to St. Paul then. The other side of the river, kind of. You know what? They had this area in St. Paul called Frogtown. They had another area called Swedetown. Well, I guess in Frogtown, there were a lot of frogs that moved there. They moved away, became American. But initially, they were all frogs in Frogtown. And the Swedes were all Swedes in Swedetown. They didn't magically become American until they kind of percolated in that melting pot for a while.
Okay, Chief, I'm going to pull this up. I'm not going to read it, but we're actually going to get to that because it turns out that this is a key problem with this idea. So, and Steve brought this up when we were having our pre-show conversation. Steve, if what happens to somebody if I change their environment?
They change.
Wait, but that's just the opposite of what we just said.
No. They do change. They keep all their programming, all their cultural bias and all that. They will change to the extent they have to. Because every action creates a reaction. It's not the reaction that you want to happen. They still have a whole bunch of cultural inertia. And if they can go back to their enclave, and I'm not talking about Somalians here, I'm talking about every immigrant group. They form their enclave. And within that enclave, the old rules continue. When they move out of that, they may react differently. But everyone tries to maintain the reality and the culture and everything that they know. But yet, when they're forced to change, they will change to the extent they need to change, but not in the way that you expect them to change.
So one of our viewers, Klaus, he's from Germany. He said so in his comments, so I hope we're not calling him out too hard here. But we've talked about this before, and he brings up the concept in Europe of Sharia law zones, also called no-go zones. So, Steve, is that what you're talking about? The Muslims moved in and they created no-go zones where Sharia law is dominant over the law of the state?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, when they travel out of those, when those individuals travel out of those zones as a one person, depending on their principles and morality and upbringing and intelligence and all kinds of other things, generally they will adhere to the rules and the norms that exist wherever they're at. I mean, if you go to a foreign country, aren't you going to try and accommodate and fit into their customs and avoid offending them? Yeah, but
Well,
that didn't change who you are.
well,
Some others that come here might not have that custom and culture or morality for the one that they've moved to.
that's true, Nick. And now here's the thing. We're talking about coming to the United States, but as everyone knows, my wife is not from the United States. I went and visited her in another country multiple times. One of those times, we were walking home from dinner, and I hear these very loud voices echoing down the street. And it's a big city, so it's echoey. And they're getting closer. And as they're getting closer, I can start to make out what they're saying. And I am not in America. I am not in the United States, but I hear American English come blasting down the street. And then we turn the corner, and there are 3 young American women yelling loudly down the street. And this is probably like 11 at night. And they're just, yeah. Now, this is a big city. It's an older European style city where, so you've got the echo, all the walls are paper thin, all of those problems. And these American bitches are just loudly yelling down the street. And I actually looked over at my now wife and I said, ugh, fucking Americans. So Americans do this too. And not everyone who goes to another place is going to understand that they need to follow the rules and customs of that place.
Hey, there's a difference in your story between that and what I was saying. 3 women. They're a group. They're performing for each other. 3 men would be there. So now they're still in their own little cultural bubble. But 1 woman, 1 man outside will be more conformist.
I suppose that's probably true. But I think it actually proves the point. So, Chief, to get at what you're talking about more specifically here, when the North African imports come into the United States and they congregate idle at Starbucks, that is what they would be doing back in their home state, in their home country, because that was what their culture is. Okay.
And if they congregate, there's probably 3 or more.
Yes.
So they maintain their culture because there's power in groups. As an individual, they wouldn't behave that way. But which is why we all want to group with people. I feel safer when I'm with 2 or 3 of my friends who have the same values, culture, all that. Somebody's got my back. I'm more comfortable there. I'm going to behave differently in a group of 3 people than if I'm in a foreign environment all by myself.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you import 1 person, they actually adapt to your customs very quickly. it took Elena about 5 years, and I know that sounds like a long time, but it's really not, before I would say that she was adapted to US customs and norms and understanding. But if you import 1,000 women from FSU countries, they're just going to go right on being, FSU foreign women. Now, I understand I'm using women here, but it's no different for the men, is it?
No, it's not. No difference.
So I think we've beaten to death this concept here, and hopefully illustrationally you guys understand what we're talking about. The core concept of tonight is the belief, and yes, I initially opened with leftists, but we're mostly not going to stay there because Nick's going to get riled up in a bit here, and so we know where that's going.
Put a quarter in.
Put a quarter. So, but there is this belief that pervades all of Western society, and I do mean all of it, that all you have to do is simply change to fundamentally change the person, is to just change their environment. There is no formal logical fallacy for this. Maybe there should be. I asked Grok, and it gave me kind of this explanation: is there is none. But there's two terms you can use to describe it. The first is a reversal of the fundamental attribution error, or reverse attribution error. That would be kind of a philosophical way of looking at it. But a more concrete way of looking at it would be a term: environmental determinism. And we've talked about this at various other points in our prior shows. But the basic idea is that everything about your environment determines who you are. Change the environment, you change the person. And the belief of the modern technocratic Nietzschean, regardless of which side of the political they're on, is all we need to do is change the surroundings of the man, the woman, the child, and we can fundamentally alter who they are. And to some degree, you can look at the effect of schools are having on certain vulnerable populations of children in self-harm, mutilation type directions. I think that was properly coded for YouTube, right? It is possible to do this, okay? To change their environment so drastically that they literally want to alter themselves. Now, as Nick will, I'm sure, pop in and say, yes, but it doesn't change the fact that they still have XY chromosomes. That's very true.
Right.
So, if you remove the fly from their underwear, the little flapper thing, they might become the other gender. Because change the environment.
That's the theory, and it can work on individuals. Specifically, in the case of that example, that individual requires some other prior brokenness for this to work. And
Sure.
I think that's kind of the key point to get at here is that environmental determinism, although environmentalism could work here too, because they're trying to do the same thing. It's environmentalism has the same thought. If we just change the environment, we can change the world. This environmental determinism requires a base human state. It is predicated on a base human state. So the assumption that the leftists make on immigration is all humans are fundamentally American in nature. And it is only due to their environment that they do not behave in an American way. So instead of trying to make their environment into America, and you can look at the span of leftist rhetoric on this, and they will tell you, well, instead of trying to make, I mean, and they tried this with Rhodesia, and they have tried this. They tried this with Liberia. To their credit, they tried it, and changing the environment there didn't work. But instead of asking themselves, well, maybe it's not an environmental problem that we can change, they said, aha, the problem is that there is something fundamental about Liberia and Rhodesia that makes it impossible for these good Americans who just haven't discovered their Americanness yet. And so clearly what we need to do instead is import these Americans into America, and that will change them.
They were just repressed under their previous environment.
Yes.
You remove that badness and bring them here, and they're going to be good, democracy believing, moral people, just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Okay, Andrew, I've got to deal with this because this is good, because you hit on two points that tie into each other. Environment seems to be more passive than active indoctrination at school. That is correct. Point number one, environment is always passive. Now, you're saying, but you just said, oh, change the environment. Right. But the effective environment is always passive. So what that means is that in order to do what they did with schools, they needed to change the environment and then bring in active indoctrination. It always takes two. Passive environment change does not actually change human belief systems. The Somalis' belief system is the same when they come to the United States and either congregate idly at Starbucks or looking at there was one in Britain where the African immigrants were killing the Queen's swans for food. Well, why were they? Well, because animal, I'm hungry, and I would kill animal to eat because I'm hungry. That is how they are. That is how humans are actually programmed to operate, right? And so they did. So in order for magic dirt to work, quote unquote, there has to be an active indoctrination point. But the leftists will then come and say, no, you cannot take away the culture of the Somalians because they are a special culture. They are a unique culture. They are a worthy culture. They are a good culture. You can't take that away. And so
Big deal.
Then don't bring them here. Then don't bring them here.
They killed all the swans. Okay, you know what? I grew up in rural Minnesota. Do you know how many wild turkeys there were around when I was a kid? 0. They were all killed. You know, they're around now. It's their natural environment. Gee, I guess all the Norwegians, Swedes, and Germans killed them all and ate them.
Probably did.
Probably did. Okay, so food, shoot, dress, pull the feathers off, eat. Okay. We can say it's against the law. Well, we wouldn't do that. Yeah, great. Fine. Whatever. Our ancestors did some of the same things.
Yep.
Well, maybe it wasn't against the law back then. Human nature is what it is. So what I'm saying here is we're not picking we're not being racist here and picking on the Somalians. We are using them as an example that integration and conformance does not happen magically.
Yes, that is exactly what we're trying to say. So, okay, now is when I get to put a quarter in Nick and wind him up a little bit, because we've been talking about leftists, and I wanted to start with leftists because we are not leftists. I think that is, through the history of our channel, quite clear. But we have made a little bit of a sport of firing shots over at the TradCon side of the world. And tonight, we're going to fire some more shots at the TradCon world. Here, I'm going to have to make sure I get the audio. Okay, here we go. Okay. I think we've actually used this before, but so this is what I'm going to pull up is the Daily Wire back in February of 2024 did this. They do this backstage thing every so often where they just get around and the hosts get around and they jawbone and they talk about things. And they were talking about the red pill. And Jeremy Boring goes on this rant about marriage. So I need to make that full screen. That's full screen-ish. Okay.
Well, I would say that a big part of the red pill thing that we would all probably agree with is they diagnose actual problems.
Right.
So when Pearl or other people in the movement come along and say, this is a major problem in society,
Right.
I almost always agree with them.
Yeah.
It's when they get to the prescription that I think that it falls apart. The prescription being, lashing out at women generally or embracing despair or not kind of nihilism.
It's a feminist message. I mean, that is a fundamentally to be anti-family. I don't understand how you could identify as a conservative at all, because everything that the left is trying to do, every Marxist principle, every feminist principle is about disrupting, the family unit. It's what connects everything from the climate change lobby to don't have kids, the planet's going to die, to feminism, be like men, we should be like men. It's all a disruption of the family unit. And if you are now arguing in favor of something that's fundamentally Marxist, then you have to examine whether or not you're conservative at all. That would be my pushback on that.
What we're trying to
I haven't heard any men say that they're anti-family. Maybe I need to just...
No, I have.
I don't want to give them press because they're all jerks to me online.
Okay.
But there are a handful of these guys. And the irony of it is they put themselves out there to be these big, virile, pinnacles of masculinity. But their anthropology is fundamentally, for lack of a better word, gay. Right? Their anthropology is fundamentally sterile. And it's saying, we shouldn't get married, we shouldn't have kids, we should just have sterile relations with random women. And so it's kind of how the irony that, we end up at the topic that no one's allowed to name anymore that Matt made a movie about. And, people say, well, that's so crazy, we should dial that back. But that's just a consequence of the very same sexual revolution that has said for many decades now that men and women are exactly the same, which comes from feminism, right? So
Horseshoe theory.
Totally, yeah. I mean, the logical conclusion of Gloria Steinem is these red pill bros, and they don't even realize it.
Pause it for a second. I know we're going to get to the important point, but they're just throwing shade at the red pill. They don't really know what the red pill really is. And they say all these prescriptions from who? The PUAs, the married red pill.
Mostly Rollo.
The MGTOWs. Okay. I mean, yeah, well, you could do that. But so what's wrong with the actual descriptions? That they're anti-family. Rollo's not anti-family. He's not anti-marriage. A lot of the
He's
red
married
pills
with children.
Yeah, and I was married with children. I'm red pilled, and if that didn't all happen through, I guess I might not have been red pilled, but yeah. Anyways, the red pill's not against family. The red pill just exposes a system. And they're going to say, oh, just do it anyways. It doesn't matter. You're just anti-family because, hey, let's just build a structure on sand. But keep going.
Sorry, we got hit with lots of ads. Okay, I skipped forward a little bit because Jeremy I'm looking for the part where Jeremy says, and these guys love hearing their own voices.
Marriage in particular is a thing that you do, right? Marriage. How do we fix? We need to fix divorce laws. Like I think that we should start a nonprofit think tank. All of us should pitch in. I know what you all get paid.
You
start a
haven't,
think tank.
have you?
Just
wait a minute. Stop. Where's the money for this?
This video was almost 2 years old now. Almost 2 years. And remember, this is before the election. They didn't have political power back when they made this video. They do now.
There's groups out there. And there's groups out there that want to change things. Where's your money? They all need money. They can't hire lawyers because they don't have money in these a lot of these are small, very smart guys, small fry, but it might cost them on the bar level if the lawyer takes up some of these cases because you're hitting the money for the state.
It might cost these guys some subscriber revenue.
We got
Where's his skin in the game?
Hold on. We got bigger fish to fry right now.
Oh,
Don't
we
you
do.
know? Oh, absolutely. The sentiment in the U.S. is strangely going anti-Israel. So the propaganda money has to go into reversing that trend because that's way more important to change the public mind on that and to, stop this travesty.
Okay. I'm going to let him keep going because he just keeps on digging here.
Yeah, let my comment just dry up there. Good thing. Yeah.
Well, we have to be so careful on YouTube.
Right. I know.
addressing the horrible inequalities that exist in family law right now. There's no question that in particular women are incentivized to leave their husbands.
If
right?
you got rid of
So,
no-fault divorce, you would solve 72% of the problems.
I'm with you. By the way,
but I don't disagree with you. But that's an all or nothing proposition.
I'm
And I've got
divorce.
no. I'm only saying that we're not a year from getting away.
Now you walk it back. He just walked it back. He just walked back exactly what.
Okay, I am going to play that back, but I'm going to play it back because I had sped it up a little bit. I'm going to play it back so that we can at normal speed now, just so that we can listen to him walk it back again.
Solutions by doing things with the people in your community and with the people that you know.
Yeah, in real life.
Yeah,
we're
it's
incarnate
real
beings in time and space.
Yeah, so it's the meat robots.
This is important. Marriage in particular is a thing that you do, right? Marriage. How do we fix? We need to fix divorce laws. Like I think that we should start a nonprofit think tank. All of us should pitch in. I know what you all get paid.
Okay, so he says we need to fix divorce laws. We should start a nonprofit think tank, and we should all pitch in because I know what you get paid. So that's point one. Okay, now
I start a think tank just aimed at addressing the horrible inequalities that exist in family law right now. There's no question that in particular women are incentivized to leave their husbands.
If you got rid of no-fault divorce, you would solve 72% of the problems.
I'm with you. By the way,
but I don't disagree with you. But that's an all or nothing proposition. And I've got to. No. I'm only saying that.
If you get rid of no-fault divorce, you'd solve 72% of the problem, which is a big chunk. But how the fuck is that an all or nothing proposition if it's moving in the direction he wants to go? I'm just losing the logic here.
No, okay. So what he's saying is that getting rid of no-fault divorce is an all or nothing proposition because you have to go to law to do it, and when you do it, it has to be at the federal level. And so that's what he's saying. You do it at the federal level, and then it's here one day and gone the next. So he's saying that doing it is an all or nothing. This actually matters to the point to where I'm trying to go with it. What he's saying here.
I'll go with that flow for a bit.
We're not a year from getting away from moving away from no-fault divorce. That's a generational activity, just like getting rid of just like introducing no-fault divorce was a generational.
Did you catch that?
It's a generational problem.
It's
so
a
why can't we-
generational activity.
Huh?
Wait a minute. It wasn't a generational activity to start no-fault divorce.
It depends on how you look at it,
And-
I guess. It started in California.
And what is it that just is out in the news this week? The state of Tennessee. I think it's Tennessee. Am I right?
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Probably Kentucky. Yeah.
Just about 5 years ago, whenever, maybe Nick has the details, they changed the presumption of custody in their state, that it has to be 50-50 unless there is overwhelming evidence otherwise. Therefore, the amount of child support that women were getting was a lot less.
Shocking.
And their divorce rate dropped by like 26%, and it's remarkably lower than the rest of the country. So is no-fault divorce, is it an all or nothing proposition, or are there steps towards implementing it, the same objective, that are not all or nothing?
Well, no-fault divorce was not introduced as an all or nothing thing. It started in California way back in the 60s. No-fault divorce didn't get nationwide recognition until the late 80s. So, it was 20, 25 years later. And so he's not wrong when he says it's a generational problem.
And when no fault was introduced, it was a court matter, a legal matter. The whole presumption of or awarding of child support came about afterwards. And then even we had that stream with those two. Nick set it up with those two guys who were researching this and writing the book. They talked about the laws versus a civil divorce versus being forced into the legal realm. So basically, child support was under the jurisdiction of the county and the state before the federal government jumped in and put an umbrella over everything. So this thing was, what we understand today, was not implemented all at once. It was a creeping process. So we need to uncreep that process, which start curtailing the child support payments, and then we'll eventually get to correcting no-fault divorce. So it's not all.
They promise, but they promise they'll do this. You just, never mind. But,
well, no,
I'm getting ahead here.
You are.
I mean, I'm not going to be like an absolutist here, but fundamentally, they don't even understand marriage to begin with. And to start adding these after the effect redefinitions of marriage and divorce that didn't exist in the history of humanity until like you have Marxist societies is absolutely insane. How about the government gets the hell out? The government usurped itself into the marital situation with the marriage license to begin with, and then later with custody cases in the late 19th century. I mean, this is, again, they could fix this issue legally according to natural law by actually, setting up this nonprofit and hiring these expensive lawyers. But they're not going to do it. There is a actual case where you can overturn all this crap in society You can do it. There's a legal way to do it. There's group people, 2 guys that we had on had a sort of plan and showed where the errors were. Now he's all pontificating, great, I'll take mild reforms, but fundamentally, you still have the problem of the state assuming all this authority and wielding it over the family that doesn't belong to it.
Right. So, but this is actually another example of magic dirt thinking. And he goes on to say, effectively, well, here, let's just play it.
Generational undertaking. There are a lot of goalposts between here and there, places where we could make an immediate difference in the lives of a lot of men. You could actually go tackle this problem. It shouldn't be the case that a wife is economically incentivized to leave her husband, and a husband is not economically incentivized to leave his wife. In very broadly speaking, that's a bad incentive structure. We might be able to do something about it.
The body scanner reveals the brutal truth.
Still waiting for him to do something about it.
But ultimately, whether you fix that bad incentive structure or don't fix that bad incentive structure, whether we get rid of no-fault divorce or don't get rid of no-fault,
or don't get rid of no-fault divorce. Do you hear him say that? Oh, we might do it, but we might not do it.
Divorce, your marriage is not a statistic. Your marriage is the actual marriage that you, the actual person, is in with another actual person. And you have enormous agency there. And the worst thing that's happening on the right, in my opinion right now, is this victimizer mentality is settling in. And I completely understand why it's settling in. It's settling in particular because the left was so effective at using it to build their winning coalition in the mid 2000s. It's not exactly how they elected Barack Obama in 2008, but it is how they reelected him in 2012. Is with this hierarchical victim mentality.
Coalition of the ascendant, right? Or something.
That's right.
They called it. Yeah.
And so then you end up with the right seeing that's what works, and recognizing the only group of people to whom it doesn't apply is conservative or white Christian male, like the people who traditionally have voted Republican in the country. And so they basically took that same victim mentality and tried to make it work over here to build a coalition. And the problem with it is, if everyone is a victim, right? Once you reach every human as a victim, then we are all basically nihilists. Like there's nothing left anymore.
There's almost, I agree with you, Jeremy. There is a point though where the right, we want to deny oppression generally because that's the language of the Marxists. Mm-hmm. But I almost think we should acknowledge it for a second. Say, you know what? There is oppression. There is victimization. It happens to all of us. It's not the result of the white guys or men or the women or whatever. It's sin, actually, is what oppresses you, and it leads you to form vices. And when you form those vices, you become a slave to your appetites, and you have a crappy life in a crappy country. And so you're right. Let's acknowledge that, and then recognize that you do have it. It's easier when you have a society that impels you toward a better life and more human flourishing, but you actually do have some agency, and the law, the Constitution, is only going to be as good as the people who enforce it. Did you see this ruling came out of the Hawaiian Supreme Court?
Okay, he's going to go on here for a bit, and I can't. They are all over the map.
Young man, right now in this actual world, in the world where family.
Anyway, he somewhere in this mess, he goes on, and I think it's in here somewhere. He goes on to basically say, get married now because we can't fix it right away. And he did kind of say that earlier too. He implied it. It's like, well, just get married now and we'll fix it later.
So
and
okay.
I think people want to watch.
Okay, let me paraphrase and put it into the admonition to the men. Don't be a victim and avoid marriage. Get married. Build your house. Build your marriage house. We will fix the foundation later.
Hey, did you? Yeah. So, you had an engineering term, engineering scenario. Not just the house, then fix the foundation later.
Well, okay. what he said, what Steve said, this was pre-show. What he said is build your house now and we'll change the foundation later.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows anything about building anything is just like, no.
Nick, does the Bible have anything to say about building your house on the sand?
Yeah. Matthew chapter 7. Okay. He says, but everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. Guys, this is what's going on. This is the foundation of the modern marital system. Doesn't matter if you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, atheist, okay? The foundation, you say, well, God's my foundation. Okay, great. The system, the foundation that your marriage is built on is in a system of laws that is sand.
But this is the secular world, Nick. I'm a Christian. I build my house on the rock, which is Jesus Christ. And therefore, I'm going to go to church with my wife every Sunday, and we're going to pray together every day because my house is built on the rock.
Abracadabra, magic dirt. So sprinkle some fairy dust on it. It'll change everything. If you just pray more, guys, that sand will harden like a rock. Somehow.
Okay.
And it won't affect the structure. I promise you, when the storm comes.
See, that fairy dust is like cement powder. You already have the sand. You sprinkle that fairy dust, cement, fairy dust. And then when the rains come, you got what? What are the ingredients of concrete? Sand, cement, water. Bingo! Problem solved.
Sure. I'm
Sure.
I'm not buying it. So, and here's the thing. It's not just Jeremy Boring that said things like this.
Oh.
Now, I can't play this whole now, I can't play. Go ahead, Nick.
Before we play this, there's another analogy Steve had about the hamburger.
Oh, yeah. You want me to tell you that one?
Yeah.
A comic strip, Popeye. Supposedly, I guess this comes from 1931. Okay, the Great Depression. Wimpy, who is a character, and you may have heard this phrase, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Isn't that
I want to eat today. I'll get around to paying you for it later. Yeah. Have you ever dealt with a friend who says, oh, man, I just need $100. I'll pay you back on Tuesday. Maybe it happens. Maybe
I've had it happen. Let's just say I don't associate with them as much anymore.
It depends on the quality and character of the man who says, hey, I need $100. Okay, you know what? You might give him the benefit of the doubt the first time. If he doesn't pay you back, are you going to go there a second time?
So that's an interesting point. And before I close the loop on this, I want to show another example. Now, we can't play this whole stream because I would have to play the whole stream, and it's an hour and a half long, and I'm not going to make our audience sit through that. However, I will throw the link to it if you want to listen to it on your own. It is now in the chat. This is Timothy Gordon, Red Pill Attacks the Patriarchy. We've talked about this before. Yeah, this is the right one. If you've ever heard us say things like, "Oh, just pray with her more," Tim Gordon actually says that in this video, that his wife was, that their marriage just got so much better when they prayed twice. It started praying twice a day, right? And that just pray more is going to solve all the problems, right? Now, again, I can't play this whole thing. We don't need a copyright strike of that magnitude. We're probably already going to get hit for using Daily Wire. So it is not just Daily Wire that says this. It's not just Protestants that say this. Tim Gordon is a well, and there's Mike Pantiel, and there's another guy on the stream. They're all avowed Catholics. And towards the end of the stream, we'll get into an example of a popular Orthodox person who is doing a little bit of the same thinking on the topic that he cares about quite a bit. But the thing that Steve and Nick were talking about while I was loading that up was this idea that everyone is telling men right now to say, just get married now. Just do the thing now. And we pinky promise that later on in the future, we'll get to the problem that's causing you to not want to marry or have children, which is the other TradCon bugbear that they use the same tactic on. The TradCons have not realized that they have failed for so many decades that they have no credit with men anymore.
Let's go to the cause correlation thing. Many Christians say, just pray with your wife. They advise men, just pray with your wife. And if you pray with her every day, you won't get divorced. Okay, correlation. How about if you're the kind of guy who has the ability to lead and direct your wife into praying with you every day, and she's the type of woman who will follow and basically obey you to do that. If you have the leadership to do that, you're likely to stay married. So, in other words, if you also were the type of man who could lead your wife into saying, you know what, I decide we're going to get trampolines, those little jumpy trampolines, and we're twice a day, we as a couple are going to go jump on our trampolines. If she's willing to follow and you have the dominance to cause this to happen, is your marriage likely to be just as successful as the man who leads his wife into praying every day?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what
it's the magic dirt of prayer, isn't it? Now, I'm not saying God can't help keep your marriage together and God answers prayer. Sure, I get it, but
okay. I'm not saying prayer is not good, helpful, and all that. Prayer is not magic dirt.
right.
These guys are also implying that his leadership to pray every day together requires a man to lead her to do it and her to be willing. So there's two wills involved here. Don't dismiss those factors.
So, Steve, I'll do a little summary because I think this is a great point. All these men saying, just get married and we will change. If more men got married, then this is Jeremy Boring's argument. If more men get married, then and a number of other people, if more men get married, then we will have more successful marriages and more women will want to get married. If you just get married, right? Marriage rates will go up. the argument that Timothy Gordon makes in this video here is, oh, I pray with my wife 2 times a day. So therefore, and our marriage is super strong and it's great. Steve, what you're saying is they are looking at prayer and correlating it with the strong marriage, not understanding that the cause of the strong marriage is the fact that he is willing to say, we're going to pray twice a day, and she is willing to say, yes, sir, and then do it.
That's my speculation. That would also be a correlation until it's proven.
Okay, fair enough. So correlation, so another term for magic dirt would be correlation is not causation. See, and if you look back to the original thing about importing Somalis and other, African countries, they failed with Liberia, they failed with Rhodesia. And so they looked at that and they said, oh, it can't be, the cause can't be the people. The cause is these are good fundamental people who just need their inner Americanness released. So, well, we need to then import them into the US, and then that will cause their fundamental Americanness to be unleashed. They are correlating something and not understanding the cause of it.
Right. So, tell you what, the enemies are at the border. And I know that when enemies are at the border, it requires a strong defense. So I want you men to pick up weapons, go march to that border and defend against the enemy. And after you're on your way, I'll come up with a strategy how we're going to defeat them.
Right. Yeah, and they're just a number. Effectively, you're treating them just like a statistic or a number. You have an end goal, but you have no way of achieving it besides just
No strategy. You're not setting up the rules of engagement. You're not setting things up for success. You just said, men, I need you to march into battle.
And I share these Twitter posts now. You think it's a good time?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So this is the new trad cons going on. We have a lot of guys on the right. They're doing patriarchy now. And now the TradCon grifts, now it's reaching the patriarchy bros. So this is John Harris. I generally agree with a lot of what he says, so I'm not trying to bully on him or anything. So trying not to black pill on this. At first I thought, surely it's not like this in the real world. Then I looked up some stats. There's little point in political will if a country's determined not to survive by propagating itself. There are guys trying, so I don't want to broad brush, but there are a whole lot of guys making excuses for why they can't get a girl. I talked to a counselor recently who told me it's like a pandemic with the guys he's getting with addictions who are single and convinced they can't get married because of super red pill stuff they've been consuming that convinced them women don't want them. Garbage. And he's citing this article. Average age of marriage increases and marriage rates themselves decline.
I have data on this, by the way. I have data on this, the marriage rate thing. We'll get to it. Also, I want to point out, written by a woman.
I was just going to say that. Oh, yeah. He's going.
Notice this the boogeyman's back out. So notice the whole Michael Knowles, Jeremy Boring, grift is now taking over in this type of thought. He's promoting this, and they don't want to get married because of super red pill stuff. Red pill bad.
Weren't we fighting this? Weren't we fighting this
2 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. We've been fighting this one a long time.
Oh, so the truth you don't like? So therefore it's garbage? They realize the foundation's sand, and they say, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Nick, don't you understand? We don't have time for this discussion. Things are perilous. The enemies are at the gate. We need to mobilize the young men and march them into battle.
You've already been defeated because your foundation is sand. You are your own system is that you live under is your enemy, not the. I mean, sure, there's enemies at the gate, sure, but you've already been. The foundation of your society has been destroyed, and you're saying, "Well, we could fix it by getting more marriages, more kids, and more problems, more single mommies, more daddy issues. Let's just keep kicking the can down the generational line and never fix the foundation. Let's keep building on sand, guys. We promise it's going to work out."
Oh, well, okay, Nick, I want to take a little bit of a detour here, but there is a how should I describe this? They're not lying per se, but they are not working with the full truth. They're not working with the full set of data. So you've probably, this article mentions, rising, age of, the average age of marriage is rising, right? And that comes from a data set that I'm going to throw up on the screen here. This is from Statista.
All right, take mine off, and there you go.
Okay.
Cheers up. There you go.
This is from Statista, as you guys can see, and I will, this is live data. See, I'm scrolling right now, right? Okay. I can. Okay, look at that. Some pretty damning data here. 1998. Average median age for men getting married, 26.7. It's up 4 years, 30.6 now. Wow. Look at this. Doesn't this just look terrible, guys? Isn't this horrible?
From the data set we see.
Oh, okay. Well, it turns out that there exists a data set that runs back further than this. And I have it. I
already assumed.
And I have it for you
how
guys
I think.
today.
Okay.
So I'm going to switch out now.
Oh, okay.
1880 to 1990. Wait a minute. What the fuck is going on here? 27, 28 back in the 1880s? That can't be right.
Now, it has accelerated since the 1990 past that. So
Well,
it is problematic now, but up until 1990 is within the norm.
Yeah, okay. It's gone a little bit further, but that data set starts at the bottom. My point here is, okay, you see this upswing here?
Mhm.
This data set starts at that statistic data set starts at the second to the rightmost dot. That's where that's their data set. Okay.
Right.
Boom. 28 is not that far off from where this data set actually is. How you look at data, and specifically when data is cut, is of key importance. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but I'm going to just quickly point your attention to, has anyone noticed how almost every data set that people use starts in 1950?
Well, that's when we had the big government censuses and all that stuff started to be set up. Right.
It was actually derivative of coming out of World War II. We won World War II through logistics, and the reason our logistics worked is because we had fantastic high-quality data about what was going on in the system. So the people who won the war learned that that the only way to run a successful system is to have high-quality statistics. So in 1950, that's the first constitutionally required census post-war, and before then they were working to build statistical systems. They get it. They collect all this cool data. But what you never see is and admittedly, the data from before 1950 is not as good. But when you're talking about general trends, it's plenty good. So what everyone is freaking out about is this chart that I have up on the screen right now. And oh man, it looks terrible. But when I throw this chart up, well, it doesn't look so bad, does it?
Let me point out something here. That when did that previous peak occur?
1890.
No, I mean the one just immediately prior to 1950.
This one, the 1930?
1930 for men.
And 1940 for women.
1940 for women. That was the peak. And then it dropped off. Oh my, what happened starting around 1930 to 1940? Oh man, Great Depression. Then what happened after that? World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So were men available to get married? Were women desperate to get married because their economic, economy goes down? Women have less opportunity and they're more incentivized to marry. So they're more willing to marry in worse economic times.
Oh, yes, Steve, but look at how small that bump is.
This is not marriage rates. This is marriage
this is marriage age.
Yeah.
So the marriage age actually starts falling in 1900, falls all the way to 1930. So 30 years of falling. It bumps up a little bit after. That's up. Actually, it bumps up a little bit. There's a fun counterfactual for the for the economics to control everything people. So the actual marriage age bumps up in times of depression. That is now. You can also see that because what most people, if you know your history, 1870 to 1890 was something called the Silent Depression. You can go look it up on Wikipedia. I'm not going to pull it up here for you guys, but go look up the Silent Depression. That was roughly 1870 to 1890. It wasn't quite, and I mean this is 10-year data. This isn't great data. Okay, so in depressions, average age of first marriage tends to go up. Okay, depression, average age of marriage goes up. Oh my. And then we come to this data. Oh, look at that. 2008. I mean, so from 1998 to 2008, it goes up by 0.8. 0.8. From 2008 to 2022, it goes up by, do some math. It goes up by 3.
So the boomers recovered, but the rest of us didn't.
Well, that's what a depression would look like. Yes. So, okay, that's the reason that I brought this up is because, everyone is sitting here spurging out about how the average age of first marriage is just skyrocketing. It's just so high. Here's a fun fact. In 1880, you would not live, the average American lived to about 55, 60, maybe. About 60. You made it to 60, 65, you were good. That was, now the average age of an American male when they die is 80, 15 years. Okay. There's another confounding factor in this, oh my God, the sky is falling. Average age of first marriage is going up. Yeah, people are living longer. So what? But more to the point, 28 in 1890 for age of first marriage for men and 30 and a half now. Okay. Yeah, it's up a little more, but not by as much as These dudes had in 1890. These dudes had a lot less time to get married and have kids and build a life. So there's something else going on here. But so 2 points. A, these people are kind of out to lunch with this whole, the average, marriages are, it's all falling apart. Well, actually, historically, we're pretty well within the norm. But also watch for the malfeasance of data. These sorts of games that are played with stats, I have had so much fun debunking them. I actually have another one that I can pull up. This one. So here I need to switch switch sharing to a different screen. I have lots of screens tonight.
Well, let me bring up another point to refute you. I watched the movie Field of Dreams, and I know if you build it, they will come.
Ah, okay.
Dirt. The magic field.
So another example of this is everyone has seen, and I'm not going to pull it up here. Everyone has seen the chart of the fertility rate that starts in 1950. Oh, look, there's another 1951. Okay. Let's look at this chart. Same exact data set, total fertility rate for the United States, but this one goes back to 1800. Do you notice anything wacky about this chart?
Well, infant mortality rate, I'll just say it.
Well, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that.
Oh man, it started at 7.
7 children per woman
What
in
was that?
1800.
1800. And now it's, well, in this chart, it's under 2.
It's 1.78 right now, in 2020.
Yeah.
It's actually a little lower than that right now. Yeah. Okay. So you guys have seen that chart. Now, most charts cut it off. I will put the line up on the screen. Most charts cut it off right here. They say, oh, it was at 3. Yeah, it was at 3, then it jumps up, and then it falls off, and they go, oh, to nose. Look at this is a calamity. Well, not really. And no one wants to talk about this right here, 1930 to 1940. Or really even, 1925 to 1940. Look at that.
3. Now, what are replacement levels, right? What's 2.1?
Yeah. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Just boom, off a cliff in a depression. Actually, no.
Of a war.
Well, it's before the depression. It actually bottoms and takes off as the depression. See, 35 is where, and 40 is where it takes off. It falls into the depression. Okay. So I've shown that chart. Now
Next thing you're going to tell us is this decline is due to medicine and urbanization.
Well, yes, it is. Because here we go. I'm going to throw this chart up. This is child or infant mortality rate. Children under 5 years old who die before reaching 5 years old. 500 per 1,000. Let that sink in for a moment. Women were losing almost half of the children that they had. Okay. Yep. Now, I've never seen this done anywhere. So I actually sat down with Excel and I did it because it turns out that those two charts have exactly the same periodicity. They're both 5-year periods and they both run for the same range, 1800 to 2020. So I did this. Infant adjusted total fertility rate. Infant mortality adjusted total fertility rate. You just take the two. There's a cool little formula underneath there that does some math, and it basically figured out what the infant mortality rate was, or what the number of children who survive past 5 years is. Whoa!
Just call it the surviving.
The survival rate.
Surviving infant surviving reproductive rate.
Correct. So Now, there's an interesting thing. There's a couple interesting things about this chart. First, if we look, 1870. That's why I drew these lines here. 1870. The TFR is really kind of stable at about 3.5, somewhere between 4 and 3.5. And if you look at history, it actually is. It's the adjusted TFR is between 3.5 and 4. And then in 1870, it falls off a cliff. And it keeps falling. It doesn't stop until we get to 1940. Again, there it is. Okay. There were economic depressions, but we also there was an economic depression. After the Civil War, you get these huge advances in medicine that are the direct result of the Civil War. You have economic depressions, and you have economic booms. Remember, the boom of the 1910s and 20s is in here as well, and it doesn't matter. This data is anti-correlated. So what the hell is this big spike? Okay.
That's the boomers, right?
That is the boomers.
And then later you see the echo.
Yeah, the echo is right here in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
it's not much of one.
No, it isn't. Well, but as I was looking through this data, and this is why I brought this up, I actually wasn't planning on using this chart for the show, but the marriage rate one, look at that. 1960 is the low point for marriage age. 1960 is the high point for birth rate. Huh.
Okay.
Uh-oh. There is something that happened before the 1960s that convinced people en masse to get married young and have lots of kids. And if you don't understand what that is, simply telling men to get married young and have lots of kids is never going to work. It's magic dirt theory applied to data without understanding what actually happened. The actual answer for why all of this happened is very simple. We flattened 2/3 of the world's cities. We killed 150 million plus people.
But we didn't flatten cities in the U.S., yet the U.S. birth rate went up.
That's a fun little economic quirk. Because the United States was the only economy left standing, we were able to import so much money and so we exported people and imported money in order to rebuild those countries. That was the Marshall Plan, and it ends. And it's what, a 10-year plan. It ends in like 1955. Oh, hey, look, 1955 to 1960. There's the peak of the boom, and by then we've mostly rebuilt Europe.
So, let me ask you this: the marriage or the birth rate and marriage rate went up in Europe because cities were bombed and they were more rural. In the U.S., it went up because all these victorious soldiers came home, got married, got busy with their wives because of repressed sexuality, whatever. And we were so damn rich, they were so ebullient that they reproduced like rabbits.
Nope.
Okay. Correct.
The United States was not a city-based country prior to World War II. Yes, we had New York. Yes, we had San Francisco. But in terms of actual urbanization, the United States had very few real large urban areas. After World War II, we do, and we start building them. Has anyone ever taken there's down in California, there's this picture of they're building I-5 through LA's big north-south freeway. And they're building it, and they show a picture of it in 1965, brand new, and there's nothing around it. It's in the middle of nowhere. And then they show a picture of it today, all built up. can't recognize it. Okay. The United States did not urbanize at a significant rate until the 1960s, the 1950s. But people were having kids before then. People were getting married before then. So you had this weird period of time where we had not urbanized, but we had men, marriages, kids.
Okay, let me touch on that. Is the name of the town Leavitville?
Leavitville, I think so. I think I know
Okay.
where you're going with this.
Leavitville, New York. I think it's in New York, somewhere around New York City. It was kind of the prototype of the suburbs. Suburbs did not really exist prior to World War II.
Correct.
So who moved into these suburbs? Hey, wherever you're living, those World War II houses. Those little cracker box houses.
Yep.
2-3 bedroom, row upon row. They're usually closer to the core. There are thousands of them. Who moved into them? Who built them? Well, it was the vets returning from World War II.
Yep.
Prior to that, did they live in the city? I don't think so.
Most of them were farm boys.
They were farm boys. So when they moved into the farm, did the magic dirt of the city affect them so they didn't have kids? Or did they still have the farm boy mentality?
Aha, there you go. There's my point.
So
right there.
the fact that they were in the city having kids, they were still farm boys at heart. The magic dirt didn't reduce their desire to have children.
Bingo. And that's exact. Here's the thing. I don't want to say that's exactly it, because there has been no research done on why urbanization leads to falling birth rates. We don't know. And I suspect that there's a certain little bit of, we don't really want to find out. Those of us
speculation on that.
Well, the red pill is leading the charge on the speculation of what's causing
even
it.
prior to that, there are people that academics that say when you have children, and you live on a farm, children are an asset.
Yes, this is true.
When you live in an urban environment and you have children, they are a burden or a.
Yes, you're correct.
They cost you money in the city. They are free labor in the country.
So yes, I have read demographers that say this. It's an old thing. It goes back to the 1920s. There hasn't been any formal research done to prove if that's true or not. They just kind of looked at it and said, well, we see lots of kids in the farmland. We see no kids in the cities. And we see people using kids as free labor on the farmland, but we don't in the cities. So that could be a correlation. It could be a causation. We haven't done we as a society have not done the research to figure out if that is actually the cause and not a correlation. That's really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, could be that things are so boring in the country that there's nothing better to do than just fuck.
Yep.
Especially in the winters up north.
Do you have some experience there, Nick?
No, that's what all the farmers and ranchers said. It's like you got puzzles and that.
So in terms of data sets and looking at the data, the magic dirt people don't want you to look at data. The leftists don't want you to look at the data on immigration. Don't look at that, man. That's terrible. We can't have you looking there. But the trad cons, they don't want you looking at the data for marriages. They don't want you. What do they always say? Get married young and pray with her.
You have,
go ahead, Nick.
have a bunch of kids, and pray with your wife.
Yeah, exactly. Get married young, have a bunch of kids, and pray. Why are they saying that? Because they're looking at a very narrow slice of data and they're saying, we need that, we want that. And they're not understanding the larger context of everything that's actually happened. It is my belief that to get what you saw with the baby boom, you would need to recreate the conditions that caused the baby boom. I think that is a pretty reasonable statement to make as an engineer. Right? If you want something to happen, you have to create the conditions that it could have, that it happened in before.
I have a question for you.
Data that's
okay.
What's the data that's not shown? Marriage rates and rate of divorce.
Exactly. No, the track. Don't go look at the And Jeremy Boring actually tried to say that. Well, he said, "Well, we know that marriages end." He said, "Well, we know that the divorce rates are bad, but your marriage isn't bad. Your marriage is you. Your marriage, you have a lot of agency. That's in that marriage."
Men don't.
Nick. Okay, how do men not have agency in their marriage? I just put another quarter in the machine.
Well, let's put it this way. I'll correct myself and then reassert it in a different way, because it's not entirely correct to say men don't have agency. Yeah, men do have agency, but a marriage is structured where marriage, as traditionally, biblically, and historically understood, the husband has the power. Husband has the power and authority over the family. There's a hierarchy. He's in charge. The kids belong to him. If she leaves, she's out to lunch. The kids are his. They're married. Okay. He has agency. Now, if he were to say no, or tell her you need to do this, or cut her off from the finances if she's messing those up, now she can just file for divorce, and most of the time she will get a lot of his money, if not 50% of his assets. She'll also get child support and sometimes even alimony. Mm-hmm. And he might be able to see the kids every other weekend, or if he's lucky, half the time, but sometimes hardly at all, if at all.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to show Jeremy in this clip. Is he's saying, "Oh, well, you have all this in your own marriage." Yes, I do, but I also don't, as Nick was saying, right? Because the state says that I don't. Okay. Right. So if you want more marriages, and I want to remember, we said something earlier, no fault. We were talking about no fault divorce. No fault divorce started in this country in the mid 1960s. So all those people who got married after, the war, all those men, they got married under a different regime. They got married under a different set of expectations about how their marriage was going to play out, didn't they? Yeah.
They did.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the rules got changed on them later, and there's actually a ton of angst about that amongst the men back then. But by and large, the women didn't exercise on those rules, on the new regime. The divorce rates back then are not what they are today. Even if you go look at the 60s and what they were going up, but they were not the same as they are today.
You're talking about inertia.
Yeah.
I did it. I let her stream on this. Okay. If there is inertia, which is the farm boys come back from war, build houses in the suburbs, they still have inertia of their upbringing from growing up in the country. Having kids, that's inertia. They still have kids. So women, they still have the upbringing of staying with a man and not divorcing. So divorce rates stayed low, even though conditions might be similar. Right now, people are still living in those same cracker box houses. They're not having kids. Women are still existing in the same general situations within marriage, yet they're not having kids and they're getting divorced. Okay, we just ran out of inertia because magic dirt doesn't matter. Their upbringing, their culture, they carried with them. And now, over a generation or two,
There it is.
acclimate to the new environment.
There it is.
Just like these Somalis will acclimate in a generation or two. It'll
Right.
take that long.
It's interesting because immigration is a great parallel. We know it takes 2 generations. The parents that move, they do not acclimate. It is the second generation that starts to acclimate, and by the time you get, so you have, depending on how you want to do a count, the second generation really means the third set. It's the children of it's the grandchildren of the people who immigrate.
And
You
we
cannot
even know that in our lives. Well, I know it. Growing up, Hispanics were at the bottom. Gardeners, whatever. You didn't see them in business or anything. Now, they're just pretty much indistinguishable. They have degrees. They're out earning. Just they're no different. I mean, yeah, okay, they're still Hispanic. Yeah, they still have more of their cultural heritage than I do. But so what? We don't even look twice. I mean, I know a lot of Hispanics, really smart, successful people. Hey, the Irish were the same way. When they came here, hey, they were lower than dog shit on the bottom of your shoe. Now, there's no distinguishing the Irish from anybody else.
Now, there is a wrinkle here that I want to point out. And that wrinkle is volume. When we have done these big sort of slugs of immigration before, particularly the Irish was one, the Italians were another. But every time we did that, we basically have to cut off immigration for 40 years. Well, that's 2 generations. Oh, look, there it is again. It's 2 generations. It's just always 2 generations for the inertia to run out. Okay. So,
But I got a point. But there's also a difference with the immigration now than then. Then, America demographically was mostly white and Christian, but it was Christian.
well, it was also Northern European mostly.
Yeah, and the ones that are coming in now are very different. I mean, they're not.
Muslims.
Most of them are not. Yeah, or Hindu or something else, or
Yeah.
And they're not the same ethnicity, not different ethnicity, different religion,
Different cultural backgrounds too. Northern Europeans all have. There's a reason I brought that up. Northern Europeans tend to have similar cultural backgrounds, even if there's disagreements about what specific faith. Right? They're generally Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, you go to Asia.
But,
that's
okay. Yeah, true enough. But man, did we discriminate against those Irish and Italians because they were papists.
Yep.
And America was a Protestant country. So we discriminated. And you know what?
And look,
you know what? What caused them to conform and become American? Something we can't do now. I already said what it is. Discrimination. Now, this is not my idea. It comes from Martin Armstrong. He said discrimination, I'm paraphrasing here, probably going a little bit too far, but discrimination is what made America great because it made us cohesive. Because if you don't conform to our rules, I'm not going to hire you. I'm going to discriminate against you. You can toe the line or, sorry, don't care. That's a pretty strong incentive to become American and to fit in to the American society. Can we discriminate now? Is discrimination a good thing or a bad thing?
What we call discrimination today is how you bring how you bring people outside your culture into your culture. Because basically what you're saying is behave how we behave or leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way it was. It's kind
Right.
of a law of the jungle.
It is a little, but it works. Okay, Andrew. What percentage of the population was the past waves of immigration? Are they in line with what we saw over the last 10 years? I don't have the data up for this right now. The data is not great since we did not even do documented immigration until the 1960s. No, I take that back. We did it. We started doing it in the 1920s. It didn't get the actual documented immigration didn't start till Hart-Celler in 1965, because we had basically shut down immigration during the Great Depression. But the answer is that, when you look at like the Irish immigration wave, we really don't know how many came. We have a guess, but we didn't document them like we do now.
I can tell you one thing. I know of the event. It was the natives or nativist or something like that. There was a political movement. It was a big issue in the 1800s sometime. And the natives were not Native Americans. They were the white people born here. And there was so much immigration. And these poor European immigrants were coming in and taking the jobs. There was a Native American, people who were born here, they were pissed off. And it was a big political issue because there were too damn many immigrants. Because starting in 1870 up until, I don't know, maybe even the 20s, but certainly up until 1900, we had the Industrial Revolution. I mean, this country was expanding. We had railroads going in. We had mines going in. They needed labor. And the capitalists, oligarchs, owners, were importing all kinds of cheap labor from Europe.
Steve.
Just watched a video from Bethlehem Steel, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They employed 30,000 people at that plant. Yeah, where did they get the labor for that? And, they wanted to unionize. They couldn't. There were put downs. They didn't unionize till closer, right before World War II, when the president says, yeah, we're going to need you. We're going to give in. So there was just, immigration has always been a huge political issue, and people have always been pissed off about these foreigners coming in taking my job.
And guess what? This will continue again in the future. I actually just looked up the it's called the Know Nothing movement. It was 1844 to 1860. They were obviously nationalists. They were obviously anti-immigration, but they were specifically anti-Catholic, anti-Irish, and anti-German. And which
half of the Germans are Catholic, the other half were Lutheran.
Yes,
Right.
And a lot of them settled up in the upper Midwest. So anyway, that's that's just a fun little aside. Andrew, can it be calculated? Maybe. I would have to go do some digging, and so I won't have the data for you on that anytime soon. I am currently buried with other stuff. In fact, part of the reason that we're being a little more rambling and random tonight is because I didn't have time to actually do notes to keep these guys on task. And keep myself on task. So just I've kind of made my points. There is this idea that all we need to do is introduce somebody to the magic dirt of whatever. That magic dirt could be, just getting married and having kids. The magic dirt could be pray with her more. The magic dirt could be just bring them to the United States. It doesn't matter what the thing is. The thing to be on the lookout for is this concept of magic dirt or environmental determinism, or the other term for it was reverse attribution error. It's not a logical fallacy officially, but it is a weakness in how people approach these problems. So the birth rate people, okay, they approach the problem and they say, oh, well, if we just had more kids, that would solve all the world's problems.
Not under the current system.
Oh, you mean there's something else, Nick?
They're actually, it's really sick. I had a Twitter post, but I don't know if I'm going to share it. But
you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, probably not. I'll just sum it up. Just go ahead and do it. We need the white race to propagate. The risks are involved, but if we get enough people to do it, we promise it's all going to work out, and we'll have the nation we want. That's not how it works. It's actually, you're treating men like a statistic, like men are just a number. Like, hey,
sperm donors,
your friend that you're just a sperm donor. Basically, it's like, screw you guys. If your wife leaves you, takes your kids, doesn't matter. You're just like a Viking on a ship. You know the costs. We're about this mission. Okay, bullshit. You don't know the end result of what those kids are going to turn out to be because you have not fixed the current system. The current system is the problem, and you can't just throw bodies at it and assume they're all going to turn out to be these upstanding, great patriarchal men when the system basically incentivizes them not to be. Your women are still going to be raised as feminists. The women are still going to know they can screw you over. Their nature is not going to change. Yeah, some might have the more religious agency, but what we find out is they're consensus driven. So you'll find these really spiritual women that still dump their husbands and blame their husbands and have some sort of bullshit excuse. But hey, we promise you your kids are going to turn out this way, but you can't guarantee that. Okay, so were we really religious in the 1950s? And what happened to their kids? They became boomers.
Hippies.
Yeah. Well, Nick, okay, here's another question to riff off you here for a second. Okay, so I go out and I do what these guys are saying to do. I go off and I have my 3.5 kids. Yeah, cut that last kid in half, right? Okay.
And if it works out for you, that's great. I have no problem when it works out for you. I wish people all the best.
Sure.
Go ahead.
But okay, I have my 3.5 kids. Saw that final kid in half. He doesn't matter anyway. And then I go immediately, and because in order to support 3.5 kids in this country, you have to. The amount of money you have to make is exorbitant. So what am I going to do? Well, the wife needs to go back to work. Oh shit. Now she's going to be working. Okay, let's just map out some of the downstream effects of saying, oh, well, in order to make enough money, my wife has to go work. Well, she's going to go now
somewhere else.
Yeah,
or
right.
you have to move somewhere else.
or well, frequently you have to do both, but that's a different problem.
Yeah.
So she now has to go somewhere to work. She's probably working with other women who are telling her feminist bullshit. She is no longer with the children. So what does that mean? The children have to be sent off to daycares and schools. What were we saying earlier about, what's the schools are doing to the kids? Okay.
Oh, that turns
they're
them
prey at work.
into a financial liability now.
Yes, it does.
You have to pay for their child care.
Correct.
You're
And they can be around a
increasing
lot
your
of men.
liabilities.
Right.
Right,
But-
Steve. And they're also around a lot of men sometimes at work.
Yes. When you send your woman off to work in a job, she is going to be around men, some of whom might be more titillating than you are.
Forget about that. She's around a boss and she does what the boss says.
Yep.
Generally.
Right.
When she's at home, she thinks she's his equal and she doesn't have to do what her husband says. So who's got more respect? Her boss or her husband? Who does she give more respect to?
Her boss. And here's the thing. This particular problem is, largely speaking, a cultural problem. It's not a legal problem. We are not going to pass a law anytime that says women can't go to work. They have to stay home and have kids. That ship sailed many, many, many decades ago. No, we have to do something else. You have to change the culture such that women don't want to go to work. Okay. And this goes back to the magic dirt problem. This is not an environmental problem. This is women are built a certain way. And in the case of what we're talking about here, it isn't just a culture problem. Women are hardwired to want certain things. That's why Steve was talking about, the boss versus the husband. The boss has the dominance. She is going to be attracted to the more dominant man who is not her husband. Okay. That's wired into humans at a very base level. It's not even cultural. Okay. The problems that we face are not going to be solved by getting rid of no-fault divorce. They're just not. It'll help, but it's not going to solve the problem of why men don't want to have kids. Men don't want to have kids because they know that the system will come and use their children as leverage. And to get back to what Nick was saying, sorry, Steve, I know, but now I've been wound up over here. To get back to what Nick was saying, okay, I have kids. I send my wife off to go work. I send my kids off to a school. She decides a few years later that she doesn't love me anymore because she's getting dicked down by Kevin from accounting. Okay, so she can come in, take the kids, take half my shit, and demand monthly money from me all in one go. Okay. Why as a man would I ever sign up for that? Oh, well, but at least your genetic legacy survives. Who the fuck cares? They're not mine. They belong to the state at best. I mean, seriously, who the fuck cares? Is it good to have a genetic legacy? Of course, but you're handing them over to institutions that they don't just hate you, they hate your own children. So much so that they are willing to use them as fungible currency and work units. What the fuck kind of life is that for them?
Okay, I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. You didn't buy a house built on magic dirt.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So let me point out this magic dirt. Let me tie everything together here. Immigration, marriage, children. If you bring immigrants here, they'll just automatically become American. Just trust me, bro. If you wife up a woman, she will just automatically become a good wife. Just trust me, bro. If you have kids with her and build up the birth rate, you'll be able to raise your children and they will turn into good citizens. Yeah, just trust me, bro. Magic, you see, magical thinking, it just solves all the problems.
Of course it
all
does.
about dirt.
Yeah, magic dirt. Yeah, that comes from the leftist view of immigration. But magic, it's magical thinking. It's theater kid thinking. It's fantastical thinking. But this idea that all we need, that the only thing that matters is that you have, okay, immigration. The only thing that matters is that our entire economic system is based on an expanding population. We could do an entire stream on that. I'm not going to get into it. So when the birth rate collapses, what do? Well, you import the population you need. Okay. Great.
It kind of works for a while.
It works for about 40 years. There's actual math and reasons, but again, fucking 2 generations, it shows up. And then
2029.
Yep, Nick. Yep. It works for about 40 years, and then it blows up in your face because the act of importing all those people also suppresses the birth rate. So you have to go back and import even more people. And eventually you're just throwing the borders open and saying, you can all come. And of course that just, sends the native population into a frenzy. And that'll be for 2029. So you're telling me that the most important thing about children is making some fucking line on a fucking chart go up. I'm the data guy. I love charts. I love data. I love graphs. Okay. But I am not so fucking callous as to think that it is my duty to make a line on some fucking chart go up at the cost of the children themselves. And that's what these people don't realize that they're saying. They are literally saying it is more important that you have children than that your children are good people, are productive people, are godly people. Oh, we don't care about any of that. All that matters to me is that this line on this chart goes up. Fuck you.
Exactly.
Plutarch,
Fuck you.
come on.
No, I literally had a guy on Twitter say that to me. I'll read it. I could put it on the screen.
Before you do that, let me say this. Plutarch, that's all second order thinking.
Oh, damn it.
A second order outcome. We don't have time for second order thinking. Oh, wait, I'm an average IQ. I can't think that far ahead. I can't go to second order thinking. The problem is the birth rate. Boom, that's it. Here's the solution. There is no ability to think further. So when you have a democracy, the vast majority of people are of average intelligence, and they're going to go with whatever sounds right. They just absolutely lack the ability to go to second order thinking. I mean, don't expect. I'm not trying to be derogatory towards them. They sincerely, totally lack that ability. Don't expect it from them. That's the idiocy of the mass, the madness of crowds, I guess.
Yep. Andrew, you're correct. You and your life and your family are just economic data. And there is a little bit of truth to that. We all do make up the economic data. And this was the point that Jeremy Boring was trying to make. So, well, yeah, you're part of the data. The odds, 50-50 shot you get divorced and she takes all your stuff and your kids. But
Fucks for you, man.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Nick, go ahead. I'll pull this. Go ahead. If you don't, we're not going to make you share this.
Okay. He says life is risk. Risk can be mitigated and planned for, but never eliminated. Abandoning the gene pool because you're too scared of divorce lawyers is cowardice. I'm sure you look cool at 55 with your 2012 Kia trolling for chicks, but you're a functional eunuch. And I said, guys, you are just a number. Because that's all they want, men to line up to expand the white race, regardless of what happens to you. And then they call you a coward for making a wise decision.
Well, and Nick, the ironic thing, of course, is, and they probably don't know this, is that you have 7.
Right. I have 7 kids, absolutely.
But you have 7 kids, and here's the thing that really gets me is those people would go, "Great, you did your job. Thank you for your service," and then they just leave these men on the side of the road.
Yep. How about fuck you? Not you, Plutarch.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Fuck you. Because, and I know this, I'm not going to say any, well, if it was a man other than Nick, this would offend. But not Nick. Because his big concern is his children. What the fuck good are children raised without a father? Do they turn out good? Are they assets to society or liabilities? And most of them are neutral at best. Liabilities, commonly. A few are assets, but children raised without their father around have huge handicaps. We should not be willy-nilly saying, have kids, and then not ensure that the father is around to raise those children, because the father involvement is more important than the mother's involvement after they're
6, age of 6.
6, yeah.
And guys,
I mean, are you Christians who are advocating this? Do you have your head up your ass?
Well, and the data on this is unequivocal. Single mommies produce something like 90% of all violent criminals. Of all criminals, actually. Okay. Single mommies are the worst possible thing that can happen to your society. Here's another fun fact. Children raised by their father without the mom present, no difference than 2-parent households. None. The woman is superfluous. Okay? After the age of 6, the woman has no impact on the outcome of the kids. It is all on the father. Single fathers produce children that have the exact same rates of criminality as 2-parent households. Let that sink in. All of excess criminality in our system today is from single moms. And so when we get up and all 3 of us collectively say, fuck you to these guys, that's what we're thinking about.
Let me jump in here before Nick does.
Because he's gonna.
All you Christian men out there, stop and think. Think about Nick. He's separated from his children. His children are of young age. He is not there. Just think of the sorrow that he has to endure every day. If you're Christian and you care about men and women and children, especially children, you should be able to identify with his sorrow. And you are completely a calloused person if you're advocating that men go in and marry women just to have kids on the off chance that they're going to be around those kids, do you not care about the children who are at least a 50% chance of being raised without a father around? Do you have no heart, no compassion, no understanding?
You're just a number, guys, to these people. It's absolutely terrible. Magic Dirt.
Yeah, I'm kind of speaking a little bit for Nick because this is a tough one for him.
Yeah. I
Uh,
wake up every morning thinking about this, so yeah.
well, and guys, you can see that it still hurts him. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
Well, it does. And I've been there. I've just dealt with that pain for so long that I can actually talk through it. It's not as raw for me because it's 20 years, damn near 20 years ago. But guys, come on. You men out there, you women out there, identify with this. We have to fix the system. The fall in the birth rate is not the primary problem. It's the marriage laws. It's a fact that children, the existing children, are not being raised by fathers. Fix that problem and, make it so a man can keep his children. You'll fix the marriage problem because if the man can keep the children, the wife is more inclined to stay and not contrive some bullshit reason to divorce him for cash and prizes.
and you'll fix the birth rate problem because men will be more willing to have kids if they know that the woman is less likely to leave for cash and prizes. And here's the thing. I grew up in a two-parent household. My parents stayed married. My mom was a fantastic mom. I'm not saying that moms are irrelevant. I'm not saying that having a bad mom is a good thing, even if they're married. I get that there's all these little variables and stuff. Having a good mom is important, but it's just the data says it's just not the determining factor. The father is the determining factor on that child and their future success. Don't get me wrong. I love moms. I love my mom. She did wonderful work raising me. She did a great job. She did a lot of work that my dad did not have time to do. But because she did that, Dad had the time to do what he needed to do to raise us. Okay. That is how this is supposed to work. And when you retards in the tradcon space and the churches get up and say, no, you just need to have kids and damn the torpedoes. It doesn't matter what happens to those kids because at least you had them. Fuck you. I don't know how else to say it. You are almost worse than a leftist. The leftist, we know that they don't like kids. We know what they are. They wear it on their sleeve. You're smuggling an incredibly destructive philosophy under the banner of pronatalism. At least the leftists are upfront and honest about it.
They are smuggling that. And let's talk about how smug they are. Well, I'm married. I still have my kids. My wife is still with me. I guess you're not as good a man as I am. you must have did something wrong.
Yep. Michael Knowles.
Fuck you. You know what? That's not
Fuck
true.
you.
You think really the good men that women don't divorce good men? Okay, fine. That's your prerogative. But whoa, 50% of women, 50% of marriages end. And 80 in marriages or divorces are filed 80% by women. So are you saying that half the men are bad men and deserve to get divorced? Oh, and a lot of those women are saying that, oh, those men are have more shit what going on with kids and desires and blah. Okay, really? In real life, how many scary bad men of that type have you encountered? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You know, it's probably something like in 10% of divorce cases, those allegations are made, and the church believes them every fucking time. Is that your experience? I mean, there is something really wrong going on here. And if you guys keep having your head up your ass and saying, man, just go get married because she'll be a good wife. Wife her up. She loves Jesus. Uh-huh. Guess what? The divorce rate of Christian women who go to church is not much different than the divorce rate of secular women who don't go to church. So how do you explain that?
You can't. Well, you can. You just can't explain it how they want to explain it. There is the red pill offers you data and observations that are very, very well. And you heard Michael Knowles tonight say it. You know, he doesn't. You know, he agrees with a lot of what the red pill guys say, but he just doesn't like how we choose to solve it. Okay, Andrew, where do we go from here? This is a great question. You know, we've been rambling on for a bit over 2 hours now. What do you do with this? Well, here's the deal. You have to be willing to push these grifters and smugglers out. You have to be willing to call them out and say, no, you are not right. Nick does it on Twitter. Andrew, I know you do too. I'm not worried about you specifically. You know, I'm speaking to the general audience here. But you also need to accept that you're gonna have to step up and do this work. It isn't going to be just us out here. It isn't going to be the red pill content creators out here. It certainly isn't going to be fucking Daily Wire out here doing this stuff. The only way to change this is to make the current situation untenable for everyone. For the women, definitely, but also for the tradcons. Because if the tradcons are allowed to just continue to preach this bullshit, just get married and we'll fix it later. Fuck you. No. And guys, and this is probably the hardest thing of all, you have to accept that 40% of men never pass on their genetic legacy, and you absolutely could be part of that 40%. And that's okay. It is okay. I know, sorry, Steve, I know what's coming next, but the Bible says, go forth and be fruitful and multiply. It does say that. Nick.
Yeah.
I am supposed
to go forth and
okay. But does the Bible say that I am supposed to offer my kids up to the altar of Satanistic medical practices?
No.
Okay. Does the Bible say that that it's okay because I am not personally at fault for it because it was my wife who did it? Does that make it any better?
No, it doesn't.
Oh. So what you're saying is that yes, there be fruitful and multiply, that is in there.
Mm-hmm. Ideally and normatively, it's there. But why are you supposed to be fruitful and multiply with prostitutes, 304s?
Actually, I think the Bible says
No.
you're not supposed to do that.
Are you supposed to do it with pagans? Are you supposed to do it? No. There's a limited amount of people you're supposed to do that with. And so it takes wisdom, it takes discernment, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to find one, nor that you always should.
Whoa, Nick, did you just say something there? And I want to stop here because I think you just said something interesting. Be fruitful and multiply with other believers. And if there is no other believer, then don't do it.
And why would you have to be fruitful and multiply under a system that would kidnap your kids from you? Potentially. I mean,
You don't. But what's the problem here? The problem is keeping a woman. How does a man get a woman and keep her? If he keeps her, well, under the current laws, he keeps his children. So I was having a text discussion with Elena today. And it's on. We have a group text, the three of us plus Plutarch's wife, Elena. And we kind of developed, that's how things happen. I developed the idea with her input, some from Plutarch and Nick, keeping a woman. And we're going to address it. But she's got plans for the next 2 Saturdays. So it's going to be in 3 Saturdays. And we're going to address this. No, guys, there is no guarantees here. But let's dive into the issue of how to keep a woman. And it'll be on her stream. Sometimes it's useful to have a woman's input into these ideas.
Sure. Sounds like fun.
But
go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, you got to keep a woman, but the problem is also, is it wise to get married and have kids when you don't really have a real? I know you can say before God you did, but you don't legally have a real marriage. That's hard.
Hold on. You legally have a marriage. The question
is, not marriage.
Is it a real marriage biblically? You kind of brought those two things together. So, is it wise to have a legal marriage? No. Is it wise to have a legal marriage that you think is a real marriage, but it's really not? No. Does that answer your question?
Right. So this is one of the things that's been percolating in our group discussions is is the marriage we have today actually even real marriage, or is it some other farce that we call marriage?
I would call it a contract. I don't know that I would call it a marriage. And I would call it a contract with the state, not with her. I mean,
Right.
I didn't fill out
What
paper. I filled out
would,
paper with the state, not her.
What would Robert Louis Dabney call it?
They call it vagrant concubinage.
It's a pretty good term for it.
Yeah. It's more or less what it is. In fact, it's like a legal concubinage, except you don't actually have any rights to each other. And the father certainly doesn't really have rights to his family. The state usurped it. So you entered into a contract to be enslaved by the state. Is that wise? And then,
Is that
now
Christian?
have kids under that.
Is it?
No.
Oh, so it's the Bible doesn't say that I have to have an unchristian marriage with a wife who can take my kids from me at any moment. Bible doesn't say that. For the purpose of being fruit. Well, but why would you do that? Well, the Bible says to be fruitful and multiply, and I can't find a good Christian woman who's not a run-through whore, so I just have to take the run-through whore. Yeah, she goes to that evangelical church over there, and she believes in egalitarianism. Okay, but the Bible says that I have to be fruitful and multiply, and that birth rate, man, just really bothers me. We got to pump those numbers up, man. And so I'll just take the evangelical Christian chick who's got 100 bodies hanging on her.
How did that work out for Hosea?
Well, some of them argue we should be like Hosea. The worst advice I've ever heard. Actually, it goes contrary to the rest of the Bible. The book of Proverbs.
So, look, if we had some form of marriage that was descendant from Christian values, then okay, you might have an argument. I'm trying. I know, Nick. I'm trying to be as forgiving as possible to these people for the benefit of the doubt. But look, if we had something like that, then okay, I got to put this one up on screen. Tacticus, love it. There you go, Tacticus. You got Nick. Nick needed a good laugh after that serious part there.
Hey, in God's providence, the English, I know that's that there's the Hebrew, but we can split it up in English. God's providence.
And okay, so if you're a guy, you want to know. Basically, I think part of it is you need to give yourself permission to say, I don't have to have kids. Because and this is my personal view, if you are willing to have kids and willingly sacrifice them on satanic altars, you are complicit in whatever sin that those kids commit. Biblically, the sins of the father will be visited to the next 4 generations. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So if
it reminds me of the Baskerville solution, that video we did that Steve led that one.
Oh, you mean the one where we ended with just don't get married?
Well, it's not necessarily a long-term thing, but enough for a certain amount of years that it makes an impact. You starve the system, and they say, "Oh shit." Yeah, maybe, I don't know, it might work.
Nick, it's gonna work. Remember, I'm a teamster. What happens if the contract comes to an end and we don't like what management is giving us? We go on strike. We don't work. We carry pickets around, and you know what? We're going to have to come to an agreement there. We stop working. Guess what happens? Could be a short time, could be a long time, could be the mere threat of walking off the job. It generally causes the other side to come to the table and we reach a resolution. Doesn't mean that I'm happy, get everything that I want, or the Teamsters get everything they want. Doesn't mean we don't get more than what we deserve. That happens sometimes. But sometimes the union guys get less than what they wanted. And yeah, okay, there is that balance. When you go on strike, shit happens, and eventually it forces a resolution. So the Baskerville solution, men go on strike. It's damn smart, and it works. And it's working right now, because have you watched what the younger women are talking about? Complaining, where are the men? It's working, guys. It's working. The men are basically going on strike. It's not an organized strike, but they are on strike. And man, or is the other side complaining about it? Well, it'll work itself out.
Well, Steve, you're talking about unions. Unions, of course, are coordinated collectivist action. Coordinated collectivist action is actually for when the relationship between two parties is not that bad. Consider how bad the situation has to be for an entire generation of men to come in each individually to the same conclusion to just not fuck around with those women ever. Give them nothing. Let that sink in for a second. That's how bad it got, that the men don't even need to organize to each come to the collective realization that you don't fuck with those women. They're worthless. And all they can do is destroy you. Why? I said this before in another video we did. I don't remember the name. Because the younger millennials and the upcoming Gen Zs were the first generation to watch their parents do this to each other. And that generation is looking up at that going, fuck that shit. I don't want nothing to do with that. And they're not. And then the system is going, but we need people to get married because birth rates and unsaid child support.
The Tradcons have an answer. Just man up and marry her.
And my reply to that is, yes, sir. I will keep feeding my children I will keep to your satanic bonfire. Yes, sir. I'm probably doing that wrong, but yes, massa. Yes, massa. Yes, massa. Fuck. All I have to say to that is fuck
your
you.
Accent.
What?
He's a Southern boy. You're not doing it right.
I know. I can't. I'm not. I can't do
yes,
that.
Master. Yes, master. Yes, master. I can't do it now. I haven't been in Mississippi long enough. I've been away for too long.
So, that's really what they're saying. Is they're just saying just do what we want you to do, and we might fix it. That's the reason I brought up the Jeremy Boring clip. Notice how he waffled back and forth on, oh, we know it's a problem. Okay, so you admit that it's a problem. Oh, and we should get together and put together a think tank because think tanks have solved anything. Okay, but we're going to put together a think tank to figure out how to fix this. And we'll get back to you in the next generation.
Guess what? If you solve the problem before they come up with a solution, there is no more problem and the solution is not necessary.
How many times have I been saying that on Twitter and in our chat? Yes, Steve. The Daily Wire does not benefit from solving this problem. They benefit from talking about solving this problem. And so, Andrew, to get back to what you say, what to do about it, start doing things, or in this case, stop doing things. Stop giving women time. Stop giving women energy. Honestly, guys, Steve right here has another good answer to this problem. The more money you make as a man, the more you have to pay in taxes, particularly if you're a single man. Remember, there's a tax cut for being married. Okay. So what can you do to starve the system? Do what Steve did. Steve was working an engineering job, making six figures. You know, he had all that money, and he goes and gets a Teamster's job, making, I'm fairly sure, less than that. It's not, Steve. It's probably not an uncomfortable amount, but
you know, let's make this real. That's not my motivation.
No, I know, but it's a good answer.
I mean, I was making six figures in the late 90s. And then I was laid off. And then, you know, I went back into engineering and pretty much, you know, I was back up into the mid to high 90s. Now as a Teamster, I'm in the high 80s. If I really wanted to work more, I could be over 100. I don't, because I don't need the money. I'm telling you, I love being a truck driver because I don't have any responsibilities. Once I'm done, I'm done. I'm working 40 hours a week now. 9 hours Monday, 11 hours Tuesday, 9 hours Thursday, 11 hours Friday. 4 days a week. And you know what? Nobody screws with me. I have to show up early. Well, you know, start between 1 and 3 a.m. Get in my truck, drive. I get to listen to whatever I want on YouTube. I get to go and, you know, spend an hour at the store delivering, drive to the next store, you know, 2 or 3 stops. It's beautiful. And nobody is watching over me, micromanaging me. I get to do what I want. And I'm paid pretty well. It's a great life.
Well, right. But you're not making $150,000 a year anymore. You're not paying taxes on $150,000
I probably, if I applied myself in the right field and, you know, if I'd stayed in the field or the right field in engineering, yeah, I probably could be making 150. For what reason? Now, yeah, if I had a wife and children and had gone down that path, like a lot of the guys I graduated from university with, they went down that path. It worked out for them. Didn't work out for me. I have no motivation to do that. They led the charmed life. Great. Do I envy them? No, not at all. Because I learned a lot of things. I moved around, not a lot, but I've had more experience. And would I give up anything that I've learned, including the hard lessons by the divorces? No, I would not, because I know shit now that I didn't know back then. And I was not the man I am right now when I was in those marriages. Because I was kind of one of those nice guy sniveling simps trying to please my wife. Not a good existence. Now, oh, no, I don't have a woman. But you know what? I can do what I want. I would like to have a woman. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. I think Nick probably would echo a lot of what I just said.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if I want a woman. Ideally, yes. Practically, no.
Well, and see, but Nick, that is an example of exactly what I'm talking about. The men, okay, Nick and I we're on the older side of the millennial spectrum. Okay. Some of us had to go through the divorce process to realize that the shit that was being thrown at us. And hey, as I said earlier, my parents stayed married. Right. I never personally saw this happening directly in my life. There were a couple marriages around me in church that blew up, but for the most part, I wasn't around it. Okay. So, I didn't really see it, but so many of my contemporaries did. And, earlier in life, I would have said, I was the lucky one for not having to live through it. Now I'm wondering if they were the lucky ones. They saw it and they went, I'm just not going to play that game at all. Sometimes I wonder, but I mean, yeah, just in terms of things that you can do, you're not required to make as much money as you possibly can. Steve lives a comfortable life, not making as much money as he possibly can. That starves the system because that comes out of your taxes.
And okay, this isn't a bad existence.
Yeah.
Guys, I live in Fargo, North Dakota. Do you know what the median income is for a man in Fargo, North Dakota?
Probably half that.
35,000.
Yeah.
It's 50-ish.
Oh.
I'm making well above the median. I mean, I'm doing quite well for the area. No, there's a lot of people who make way the hell more than me. Okay, money isn't everything. Figure out what is important to you. Too many people in our modern world think that making the most money is the most important to them. Yeah, are you serving the money?
Mhm.
Yeah, you know what? You have more money. Are you happier? No, you're not. I can tell you that. You can be happy on any amount of money. Well, this is a relative thing.
There is a number below which it's hard. A
Yeah.
guy named Steven Pinker actually calculated this, and it's a calculatable number. Right now, it's about 85,000 a year is the number above which it doesn't make a difference. 80 to 90 inflation.
And it depends on the area too.
Yes, it does. Anyway, go ahead.
That's where it's at. So should we bring this in for a close?
We should. We could talk about all sorts of things you can do. Most of the stuff is not that. Most of the answers are don't do things. Don't marry women. Don't have kids with suspect women. Don't go out there and worship the altar of money trying to make more to the state because the state takes fucking half of it anyway. Those are things to do. But just to wind it up, there's magic dirt thinking everywhere. The left has it, but so does the right. So does the conservative right. So does the far right. So some of the people we're talking to, we're like Nick, you were talking to what sounds like a white nationalist almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patriarchal Christian guy, yeah. I
There
probably
you go.
agree with him on so many things, but
Well, and here's another thing, Andrew. Don't be afraid to call out people's bullshit logic when they bring it up. We work with men who we don't agree with everything on. Okay? We do it all the time. But we have to normalize men looking at other men and saying, that's bullshit. No, that ain't how this works. We've gotten too polite, too frankly Norwegian. Yeah, Steve, I knew you'd like that. We've gotten too polite. So get less polite. when somebody says something obviously stupid, get in their face and say, that's obviously stupid and here's why. But also, and part of the reason that I love doing the streams is we get to talk about concepts like these to help you guys identify when somebody is trying to smuggle bullshit. And that's what these guys are doing. They're smuggling a satanic course of action under the banner of godly pronatalism. Sacrificing children on the fires of a state school system is not Christian, even if it does make the line on the chart go up.
Okay, guys, we talk about intelligence on this channel. We seem to kind of promote, well, intelligent people see this, see that. Okay, great. That's important. But part of the thing about intelligence is they understand the simple things really well. And they see complex issues and say, oh, damn, the root cause is a simple thing. It's a concept. I don't care how smart you are. The key is to understand the simple concepts. When you get in a complex idea that you can't understand, if you understand the simple concept, then you can easily apply that simple concept and say, yeah, all that is just complete bullshit. So the concept here is there is no magic dirt. People behave as they behave. Yes, you cannot build a house on sand and expect it to survive. Hey, it's a parable in the Bible. It's a fool who builds his house on sand. Simple concept. I understand that. I'm not going to go there, do that. Gee, okay. What? Okay, we talked for 2 hours. I distill it down to a simple concept. So next week, I am leading, and my topic is going to be the facade of quality. Yeah, I will touch on women and the quality of women, but I am making this into a broader thing. The quality in everything you see around you. It's a pervasive thing. In our modern world, sometimes, much of the time, quality is only skin deep.
Don't I know it? I have a story for next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, do you have anything you want to close out with?
Magic dirt. You can have all the right ideals and hopes and dreams and fantasy that people promise you. You have to deal with the truth of reality, and it's not always pretty. It's not always comfortable. And I wish I could give so much more hope to all these young guys out there, but that's unfortunately the truth. It's shit right now. For, immigration, it's shit right now. Okay. For marriage and children, it's absolute crap for young men. You need to take the truth and not live on hopes and dreams. That's about what I gotta say.
That's a fantastic way to end the show there, Nick, is take the red pill. Hopes and dreams, magical thinking, None of it will save you, Nick. Love it. Okay, so Saturday, you guys are. She actually put the topic in here. I don't remember what it is. It's where did she say? She dropped a pin in it, and I don't remember what it was. Or no, it was talking about marriage.
Saturday. Yeah.
It is marriage real? So that's this Saturday.
Is modern marriage real?
Yep. So that's this Saturday.
So
and
we kind of touched on that. Nick is going to try and be there. Otherwise, I'll be there. Not sure if Plutarch's going to be there.
I can't. I have a prior engagement that requires me to be offline.
So anyway, we're going to discuss that. If need be, we can discuss that here. It'd be a good topic here too.
Yep. Yeah, it would be. Yeah. We have more topics to discuss. There's a never-ending list of things for us to discuss, and it just gets longer, doesn't it, guys?
You got 3 guys sitting on here, and most of the time, you got 3 guys thinking of things, and something comes up, and ideas evolve. I don't know that we'll ever run out of ideas. If we ever do, we'll just go back and start at the beginning and recycle new ones. Recycle the ones we need to.
All right. So that was a fun one. Took longer than I thought it would. If you guys liked what you heard, you can subscribe if you want to hear more. If you didn't like what you heard, we don't pay attention to the dislike button, so leave your dislikes and you can leave comments. And if you have questions, leave us a comment. We will get back to you at some point. All 3 of us do have day jobs. So, and we will see you on Saturday for Is Marriage Real? And, well, Steve will. And do math. I will see if I can show up Saturday morning early in the show, but I will probably have to duck out at some point. So, and then next Wednesday, Steve wants to talk about the facade of quality, which, boy, do I have some venom to spill on that one.
Hey, we're going to talk about China and the U.S. and the world and women and
we should have fun then.
Who knows what else?
Excellent. Sounds like a plan, gentlemen. We will see you all next week for us. Later.
Yep. Bye.
There was a firefight! Son of a bitch!